We know that the government began the demolition of homes along the riparian lands in Nairobi. And affected areas, for example, the Mukuru areas have seriously been affected. And we have somebody from Mukuru, Anami Daudi Toure, who's a coordinator of the Mukuru Community Justice Center, joining us. Amani, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Karibu sana for being here. Toure, listen to this gentleman. He's called Siti Muga. Every week he goes into one African country and gets proverbs from that country. And then he brings us a proverb a day. Okay? So today, he has a proverb. And your job is to listen to the proverb and give us your interpretation of that proverb. Sawa sawa?
Sawa sawa.
All right. Which country are we in, City? Give us some hints. 1, 2,
Well.
3.
It's a country you may have heard of. It's on the East African coast. It neighbors some very interesting countries. But it's famous for several things. Wildlife. It's famous for lovely beaches. It has good runners, people who run very fast, faster than very many other people on the planet. The people who live in Kenya, we are told, are very hardworking. And when they say very hardworking, the implication is that other people are not hardworking. But anyway, the Kenyans...
You give it away.
Yes.
It was meant to be...
I'm giving him... He'll probably get it wrong.
Okay.
The capital of that particular country begins with N.
And the president?
His name begins with D.
What?
Yes, it does.
Okay. The president's name begins with D.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Toure, can you guess which country this is?
Is it Namibia?
That's a good, see? Told you.
You need to stop. You need to stop. You really do.
Toure, we misled you deliberately. We apologize. You would have gotten it right if I hadn't brought in the D, but let me explain. Yes. The country is Kenya, and the president is Dr.
Oh, stop.
Yes. William Samoei Ruto, D. Si jina yake, kwani nyinyi watu mjisikia mtu anakwambia jina lako nani? Mimi am Dr. Si ni jina yake.
Right. Medication.
And I'll take it after the show. Okay, let me tell you the proverb. Huh? A rat trap catches both the guilty and the innocent.
A rat trap catches both
the innocent, the guilty and the innocent. Yes. This is a democratic situation. Everybody is included.
Toure, what do you think this proverb is saying?
For me, I think the proverb is just saying that there are some situations that you could also be getting in, which you are not part of the problem, but they are also going to affect you.
Yes. That's a good one. And it's relevant, right? To what's happening to your community right now.
Yeah.
What's happening in Mukuru?
So right now what's happening in Mukuru is forced eviction. It's happening along the Riparian land. People have been displaced in their homes. They've been evicted. Several have died. Others are sleeping outside right now as we are speaking.
Outside as in no covering, nothing?
Yeah, they don't have any shelter, any form of shelter.
Wow.
Anywhere just to have the roof on their heads. Yeah.
Mukuru is a big area, Toure.
Yeah.
Just tell us, there are several Mukurus that we hear about. How many Mukurus are there?
Mukuru is quite very big. We have different parts of Mukuru. We have Mukuru Mukuru Fuatanyayo, Mukuru Kayaba, we have Mukuru Viwandani, we have Mukuru kwa Ruben, then we have Mukuru kwa Njenga.
Eh,
And this is all in the more or less.
Are
if
they
you look
next
at
to
a
one another?
radius, they're all more or less in the same area.
Just to say politically, or maybe just the way Mukuru was divided, because in political aspect about it, because people of Mukuru face the same challenges and the same crises that are there in the society. But these areas have been divided into different segment and different constituency. And for me, I believe this was just deliberate so that people cannot unite against, like, for example, certain oppression that are happening right now. Because if you go to Mukuru Kayaba, these are people from Starehe constituency. So they have different leaders. They have different administrative representative.
right.
If you go to Mukuru Viwandani, they are part of Makadara sub-county. So they are represented with different politicians, different administrative leaders.
Yeah.
If you go to Mukuru kwa Ruben and Mukuru kwa Njenga, they are part of Embakasi South, which is part of different constituency. So approaching other issues just collectively is very, very problematic because sometimes when you want to unite or maybe you want to speak on the same issue, you find out that you are divided because you have to go and seek refuge or maybe consultation from different leaders. We have never had maybe like a consortium of these leaders maybe coming together because the issues of Mukuru Kayaba are the same issues of Mukuru kwa Njenga and Mukuru kwa Ruben and Mukuru Viwandani.
And Fuatanyayo. How many people in your estimation live in these Mukurus combined?
Yeah, for example, like Mukuru kwa Njenga alone, it's like approximately 500,000 people.
That's kwa Njenga alone.
That's kwa Njenga alone. Yeah.
Jeez. This is the biggest.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what, and just for context here, because I mean, it would appear in the minds of some people who maybe think it's obvious, but I don't think so. What are we talking about in terms of earning? Let's look at earning. What folks who live in Kwanjenga are earning on a weekly, monthly? What are we talking about here? What does it look like?
So people who live in Mukuru, basically they survive on hand to mouth. Others, they have their own businesses that they do, small businesses. Others, they work at industrial area. And the minimum wage, they don't even get the minimum wage because you find that the life in Mukuru is very, very affordable. Like for example, we have people who pay house rent for about maximum 2,000 Kenya shillings.
Across, eh?
Maximum. Then we have those.
No, I'm saying throughout. So throughout Kwanjenga.
Not only Kwanjenga.
No, I'm just using this as an example. Yeah. So when you're saying maximum 2,000, that we will not find somebody who is paying above 2,000 shillings for rent.
Yeah, it depends also with the structure because we have other formal areas and we have a majority of the parties in the informal area.
Okay.
So informal area they pay 2,000.
Okay, I understood. Okay. Now, how do people get to where they go? And I know I'm asking these questions because we are going somewhere, right? Yeah. How do people get to where they're doing this job that's not even the minimum wage?
They just go by foot, by walking across. When you cross just from Mukuru kwa Njenga, go to Mukuru kwa Ruben. You know, this settlement is just being by design because it's in the middle of the industrial area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most people are, like you said, finding work in industrial area, doing your own business, hand to mouth. So people who do, you know, and they're paying rent to landlords. Do these landlords reside in any of the Mukurus?
Yeah, majority reside there. Then we have those who don't reside there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the houses in the majority belong to the landlords and not to the individuals?
We have, like, for example, 70% belongs to the individual, about 30% to the landlords.
The individual, so somebody comes and puts up their own structure.
Yeah, their own structure.
And they live there.
Yeah.
And they don't pay rent or rate to anyone.
Yeah, they don't pay rent or rates maybe to anyone, but they can even maybe extend to construct maybe several buildings that they can rent to some
adjacent.
Yeah.
But how do they acquire this plot where they're building the house?
So for these plots, they are being given by the administration. These are the leaders there in the community that they allocate this land, because you can't do anything, even constructing even a kibanda, without even administration being getting something from you.
Toure, what do you mean by administration?
Administration, we have local leaders, we have the area chief, then we have local representative. There was we call them nyumba kumi.
Nyumba kumi leaders.
So when they see you are just bringing in mabatis or maybe materials, even just doing repair, you have to give them something.
So for you to start building somewhere, the chief must be aware, and most likely the chief must have received something from you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that then you can now start constructing your house here, where your family is going to live, and you can even extend so you can have some rental units.
Yeah.
Or you can even have a shop somewhere where you're doing your business from.
Yeah.
Right? So that means that even the landlords, the 30% who own houses where they're just renting, even for them, the chief, the local leadership, the wazees, there's like a community there that is the one that approves and authorizes for you to have a structure.
Yeah.
And so somebody somewhere is aware, and that somebody somewhere has a direct connection to government.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Now, people have built even on the bank of the river. Is it the same situation?
Yeah, it's just the same situation.
The chief is aware?
Yeah, the chief's very, very aware, the administration, because if you go just and do your own research, like for example, the people who have been living along the riparian land, there are some of them who bought even the land from even the village elders.
Bought?
Yeah. From village elders. There are some of them who were allocated those land by the area's MCAs and also local leaders. They were given those land as others were given as gifts.
Yeah.
Others were given as maybe like a community school, just construct a school here where we'll be serving, for example, the kids from this area.
Right.
Because, in Mukuru, we have a lot of informal community schools.
Yeah.
That they serve quite a lot of pupils in Mukuru than even the public.
The children of Mukuru will most likely be going to an informal school.
Yeah, because we have very, very few public schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the whole situation of people who live in Mukuru and operate from Mukuru on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Now, we have the ongoing rains. Even before we come to the demolitions, the rainfall, as it has been happening here every morning, we've been talking about how about the people who actually live in these areas of Mukuru. When we see water, so much water getting into people's houses, how are the people of Mukuru living? How are they surviving this with the kind of structures that these houses are made of, with the kind of lack of infrastructure in terms of roads, in terms of sewage systems, in terms of just that organized infrastructure? How has it been? Just paint the picture for us of this rainy season in Mukuru.
It has been raining, and actually it has affected a lot of people in Mukuru. Some of them it has displaced, the rain has displaced some of them, and some of them have been living in those houses just with stagnant water because they don't have anywhere to go.
Living in stagnant water?
Yeah, living in stagnant water. Even we have some household, like for example, if you go even right now, in Mukuru kwa Ruben, in Gatoto village, if you go into Kariobangi village, if you go into Mombasa village, we are structured into different zones. There are households that people are sleeping in those households. They're having water. So they have like a double-decker bed. So they just sleep there. Then when you go outside, you have to wear your gumboots, then walk. Go outside.
And if you don't have gumboots?
So gumboot is a requirement.
It's a starter kit.
Yeah, it's a requirement.
Living in Mukuru, starter kit. Gumboot.
Yeah.
And you must have a high raised bed.
Yeah.
So this is where you are living. I mean, this is where you're sleeping. So where are your utensils? Where is everything else? Is it everything else up with you there on the bed?
So
or
you
are you
have to
saying
be,
that now you've raised even your kitchen table, you've raised your cupboard, you've raised...
Yeah, and actually what happens into these different villages, when it rains, after the rains are done, now we are done with the rains, now it's summer. We find that people who live along the riparian land, they now have to raise. Now they bring in soil, with the village elders and also the administration being included, they raise.
Not that they will, but this is practice. This is something that normally happens.
They raise the land. Now you demolish your structure, then you bring some soil, then you make a hill,
then you build
then you build. Because I've just told you, if you go like into different villages right now, it's still flooded. Even they have done eviction into that area, but the area is still flooded. Because and the situation in your house, if you want to just stay in your house, you have to raise everything. Like if it's flooded, you bring some stones, then you raise a table, you put your gas there, your sufuria there, then you have to cook. To cook from there. Unless you have some resources, you can move to another different area where you can get a good house that you can pay for like 2,000 shillings.
What's that house? Describe that 2,000 bob house.
It's just a single room.
Is it permanent?
Not permanent.
What is it made of?
Iron sheets. Iron sheets, and then
so it's mabati wall, mabati roof.
Yeah, mabati wall.
And wooden door, obviously.
Yeah.
And a window. Okay, so that's a single room, 2,000 bob. Big enough to accommodate a family.
Yeah. We have been indignified to a certain level, where people have just normalized the situation, because when you ask about this, they say that these are like illegal settlements. And for me, I don't think if you have something like illegal settlement, it's just that the state has failed to implement like Article 43 of the Kenyan Constitution, which also enshrined in our Constitution that everybody has a right to a decent housing. So for me, I think these are not illegal settlement. It's just that we have the crisis on issues about land and housing in the city and generally in the country. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a break. When you come back out of this break, we want to hear more about what's happening in Mukuru, and then you'll tell us about the demolitions. Prior to the demolitions, the kind of warning system that have been given, even you as the Mukuru Social Community Justice Center, what were you doing as a social justice center to create awareness about the dangers of what's coming, the floods, the rain season, what you've done in terms of supporting the community, and then what's happening now to those that have been affected by the demolitions. 9:30. Our guest is Anami Daudi Toure. He is the coordinator of the Mukuru Community Justice Center. He's our guest today. He's telling us the situation on the ground in Mukuru. All the Mukurus. We know of Mukuru Kwanjenga, Mukuru Kayaba, Mukuru Koruben, Mukuru Viwandani, Mukuru Fotanyayo. Combined, it's over 1 million people who live there. All of them impacted heavily by the ongoing rains. So we know, Toure, that on Thursday, the Ministry of Interior said that, people who live in these areas need to move. Actually, last week. And then we started seeing movement in the areas on Wednesday, Thursday, when the demolitions were now to begin. On Friday, when the president spoke and said, "You people, you've got to get out of these areas," then it was then intensified. So, take us through what happened getting into the weekend in terms of demolitions and the activities thereon.
So what happened after 48 hours notice is that actually they began even the evictions even without even the time, the 48 hours elapsing. And you can imagine your family living in Mukuru, then you are given an ultimatum of 48 hours to vacate or maybe to move to another place. Then the government has not given you an alternative place, and it's raining, it has flooded, you don't have resources or maybe money just to go and pay somewhere where you can get maybe refuge at that time. So the bulldozers came and they started demolishing houses in Mukuru along the Riparian land without even the government taking precautions and also issuing like even a notice. For example, if the president just speak to the day and say that, or maybe Kindiki says that we're giving you 48 hours to vacate. You know, in Mukuru, most of our households don't have electricity.
Right.
So people also access to information. People don't have access to that information that you have been given notice because you have gone to work, then you have come, you are tired, now maybe you are resting, so you don't know what's happening. Maybe you have... it's not on a weekend where you can go to your base, maybe to watch a football match where you can get maybe some people just explaining what's happening or maybe the updates around. So most of people, they were not aware. They were not aware
that
about,
there's a notice in effect.
Yeah, there was a notice. So most of them, women who went to market, like for example Mudurwa, others who are in industrial area, they came, they found that their house were demolished, their livelihoods have been destroyed, and
so houses were being demolished with things inside the house.
Yeah, things inside the house.
But then there's a local, like you said, there's the local Nyumba Kumi, which clearly is very active. There's a chief who is aware of these things. Their neighbors. Was there no communication that was saying, so tunakuja kwa hii area kuanzia saa 6, you can find a way of alerting the person if there's nobody in that house, find someone who can alert them and tell them that this house will be demolished, get the things out?
So, you know, with the evictions, there is assumption that there is assumption from administration and also those local leaders representing the area chief, that when just anything has been announced on television, that everybody is aware. There's just that an assumption, which is the lowest intelligence, the lowest level of intelligence.
Surely.
So there's that as an assumption that everybody is aware is supposed to move. So you find out that when the eviction started, most of people... livelihoods and also property were destroyed, and actually some of them even died in the process. Like for example, Joseph Ombati, a 5-year-old, a case that we documented as Mukuru Community Justice Center, died in the process, just that no one was there in the house. So information that reached us from the eyewitness that he was trying just to get something from the house, basins, utensils.
This is a 5-year-old.
5-year-old boy.
He was alone in the house?
He was alone in the house. Now the bulldozers have come.
Where were the parents?
I'm not aware where were the parents. I didn't ask that question because, you know, there was very, very emotional at that particular time. Also, you could not just go and ask, where were you? Mulikuwa wapi? Sijui nini na nini. So we were just trying to condone with them.
So he was in the house, he had gone in, he was trying to remove some utensils from the house. Because he's seeing demolitions going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then
the bulldozer came And their structure, these structures are just 10 by 10. Households are 10 by 10.
What are these structures built with?
Iron sheets. Then we have other structures that they have like a gorofa juu. They have been built with wood, then simiti kidogo, then another 10 by 10. So their structure was a gorofa. So iligongwa tu ikamwangukia. So he died. Then there were two people who are also trying to salvage what they could at that time. Then they died the process of when they were trying to bring in their to bring down their chumas, their mabati. Then they died on the process. Then there was a little bit of commotion, community members with the NYS servicemen and also the police officers. Then the anti-riot police officers came and tear gas people, then they chased them away. And actually the chief was very, very rude at that particular time. I was there.
Let me ask, what exactly were the anti-riot police doing there?
So they were there just in terms of if there is any resistance from community.
Was there any resistance?
No, there wasn't any resistance.
So the question is, Toure, is it that people don't want to move? They want to stay where they are because, everything is there? Or that people don't know where to go? Which one are we talking about here? Because one would, that's like the question CT is asking, I'm assuming. If anti-riot police are there, maybe it's because people don't want to move and it seems like, you're going to have to make them move. So is it that people don't want to go, or truly, where are we supposed to go from here?
If it's a precautionary measure, then where does the lobbying of tear gases come in?
Where does it come from?
It's just that, there was a reaction from the community when the 5-year-old died.
Naturally.
So that's when the police were just there standby to tear gas
to disperse
anyone who is trying to bring in resistance, and actually they were not even assisting.
Okay.
So that was the situation at that particular point. But the question that you have just asked is not that people don't want to move. It's just that then we are moving. Where are we going?
Sure.
From here.
Toure, during the national address on Friday, the president was asked that question specifically. You're asking people to move. Are there modalities of telling them and guiding them on where to move? And the president was very categorical. He said, we have national government administration officers across the country. Those ones are working as Ngao officials, with the county officials, with other community leaders to identify safer areas where people can move, and people are being directed on how to go there so that they can get support from government in terms of shelter, in terms of food, and in terms of any medication that they may need. This is what the president said. And he was speaking specifically to those that are being asked to move from their homes because their homes are in danger. Either you're downstream of a dam or you are living in a riparian land, such as the people of Mukuru. What is happening in Mukuru? The Ngao officials, the chief, the assistant county commissioner, the deputy county commissioner, and the county commissioner, and the police, and the ward rep, and the ward administrator from the county, and the sub-county administrator, have they spoken to the community and organizations such as yourselves, the Mukuru Community Justice Center, to identify areas where people could be moving to?
Not yet. Maybe that conversation was maybe in State House, and it remained there in State House because the chief and also these officers that you are telling me about, they are the ones supervising the evictions. And actually people have died. They haven't even given them direction, like, for example, to seek refuge maybe in the nearby schools, because now the schools are currently, they are still closed. So for me, I think that conversation was with the president and maybe the journalists who are there. Because you know what happens when the president says something. He was joking about it, because we haven't seen anything about that. Even yesterday we had PS Raymond Omolo talking about maybe the relocation plan, but you haven't seen it in Mukuru. So we are saying, the government has brought in an illegal scheme, let me say maybe an illegal scheme, about affordable housing, which we have them here maybe in Mukuru. Like for example, I was there yesterday. I went even to the site yesterday.
The project, yeah.
Yeah, just to inspect maybe if they have a plan maybe to take people there. I saw we have like four. We have about five that they have finished constructing them.
5 blocks are done.
5 blocks are done. I asked them, 5 blocks are done. So instead of us maybe talking about affordable, because that's, I know, is the conversation that the president is going to bring in. Affordable. Affordability, affordable to who and how. Because, if you want to relate to someone who lives along maybe the riparian land, he's paying his house maybe 1,000 Kenya shillings. So can we bring in like the social housing program for the poor than the affordable?
Yeah.
Than the affordable housing, because the president was very clear and said that for this housing, because now we are talking about the government intervention.
Yeah.
They should have they should have a short term, a mid-term, and a long-term intervention. Like for example, now, we have like nearby schools. Like for example, we have a very good supportive institution like Ruben Center. If they could speak to them, then they take those people who have been evicted to that place. Then they organize them, like for example, systematically, because they have the administration officers on their ground, the Ngao officers. Then they take them to the social housing that we are having here.
When you say completed, what do you mean? These these houses that have been built in Mukuru, you mean they've been put up, they're standing, they have a roof, they have doors, they have windows?
Yeah. They are done.
Tiles in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
But then the contractor is still on site, continuing
with the other buildings.
The other buildings. Okay. So how much do you know about that particular project? Because what we've heard from, in fact, even the Principal Secretary for Housing, and he told us about that particular project. He said this is mostly going to be the social housing scheme, and the bigger beneficiaries are going to be communities around Mukuru who have already been identified. And the identification is still ongoing on the people who will then get first dibs on the social housing that is coming up there. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that because we haven't seen any enumeration being done in Mukuru particularly concerning the social housing, though the president says it's affordable housing. So I'm hearing for the first time saying that
all of them have that element. So in the affordable housing, there are 3 elements to it. There's the social housing, there's the affordable housing, market housing, and then there's another market housing. So
yes,
not all of them have theirs.
So at this point, at this particular time, there are people who don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
So it could have been the first like let's say like test or maybe a pilot, just to profile the people who have been evicted, take their details, take their names, then be clear. We are having this plan. We are going to take you to these houses, social housing. Then you are going to pay this and this and this. This is the system that we have, but we don't have that clear information.
So where are people going?
Where are people going right now? If your house has been brought down,
as of
Thursday last week, okay, explain to me. This is important.
Yeah.
When you say Jipange, what does that mean? Una Jipange, how? Where are you going? Are you going to put up with a neighbor? Are you going down the street and putting up what's happening exactly?
So we have people who have built makeshift just around, who are still there, and we have those who are trying to seek refuge to other like relatives, just to go and stay there so that they can plan for themselves for some time, and we have those we don't know where they are going because it depends. Sometimes, say we have those who owns the structure, then we have those majority who are living there. So you have to just to demolish, then put your mabatis, your mbaos at safe place, so that you can get at some point where you can take your materials or maybe get somewhere maybe to rebuild, which is very, very difficult at some point, even right now. So what's happening right now is that people are stranded because I can't even explain where they are going.
Honestly.
No, you need to.
I mean,
are you able to answer, even if you just think about 3 families that you know of? So their houses were brought down. They had managed to salvage some things from the houses. Where did they go to? Where have they gone to? Are they living with neighbors? Did they look for another house somewhere that was empty, that was vacated, and they moved in and, they'll start paying rent? Did they move to, because you're saying they did not go like to Mukuru center, they did not go to schools, shelters. So where have they gone to? Or are they sleeping outside?
We have some who are sleeping outside.
In the rain?
Yeah. Who are sleeping outside. Even if you go there right now, you can even go there because I'm just going there and I'll be living here. So we have those who are sleeping outside, but they have taken their children to their neighbors. Maybe they have managed like maybe 6 people. They get a rental somewhere. Then they get their children there because parents, they take a lot of care for their
kids, of course.
For their kids, and for them they just look for somewhere maybe for shelter.
Yeah.
Others, they take their children maybe to their relative. Maybe they go to live to their relative who is maybe around in Mukuru.
So it means those who don't have relatives and who don't have friends, you are genuinely stranded.
Yeah, you are genuinely stranded.
Something I'd like to ask. The vast majority of people who live in those houses, you said they work in places like industrial area. Okay? And from what you've said, the numbers of people who live in these Mukurus does not decrease, it keeps increasing.
Yeah.
In the time when the houses were built, the affordable houses, the social houses were being built, did you ever have public participation where you were told how people within the areas of Mukuru could benefit from this housing?
No.
The chiefs, the leaders, the MCAs, the MPs never came to you and talked to you and told you that you see these things being put up, you'll be beneficiaries of it?
No.
All right. Now, you mentioned also that there has never been any enumeration of the people who live there, so that someone can tell you, enumerate as in you live here, you live in this one of these Mukurus, etc., and it is possible for you to have or acquire or live in. None of that has ever taken place.
So the enumeration that is being done, we are the ones doing the enumeration with other CBOs in different areas.
You're doing the enumeration now?
Yeah, we are doing our own enumeration with people who lives there. Like for example, in Viwandani, we are working with other groups like Wajuku Arts and Mukuru kwa Ruben. We are working with the Mukuru Youth Initiative and other community-based organization. They are conducting enumeration.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we haven't seen any government official.
Is it possible that it could be happening?
Yes.
That probably the local chief and those wazes have actually been doing it, just knowing that we know after all they are the original landlords here. Just knowing we are X number of houses, so just write names. Whether those names are real or imagined, could be something else altogether. But is it possible that these national government administration officers have actually submitted names of supposed beneficiaries to the Ministry of Housing and said that these are the people who are vulnerable people living in Mukuru who would benefit from the social housing scheme once its houses are done?
It's very possible, but the narrative that we have, I'm and the experience that we have with these elders and even the local area chiefs, these people are very, very corrupt. And we know what happens if they are given this opportunity without even anyone who is being there, like maybe to monitor or maybe just to observe what's happening. You could even get the names that other names of people who living, for example, in Kisii or maybe in Mombasa, Kakamega. They are the ones who have been evicted in Mukuru. So for this process, we have even we have leaders from even different clusters.
Yeah.
We have different leaders who are not maybe affiliated to government institution, who are very trustworthy within the community. They are not aware of anything even happening. Because if it could have been happening, tungekuwa na hiyo ujumbe.
So now, as the Mukuru Community Justice Center, what are you doing as your organization to support those that are being displaced by these floods and to create awareness about what's going on? Because clearly, you need then to have a way of, once a notice is issued by government, to make sure that people actually get to hear about it. Or once certain communication comes, even if it says that those who have been affected, please register with the local chief or come somewhere here and the other, we shall give you support. People need to know about it. Are you doing anything like that as Mukuru Justice Center?
So for us, we are a team of human rights defenders, and our main role is to document cases of human rights violation within the community, and also just what you have said in terms of making sure that community are aware of what's happening. So we have been conducting community dialogues, having conversation with community, with our communities across Mukuru, in terms of what has been happening, and also the ecological crisis, like the flooding that we are facing right now. They have been aware, and also we've been working hand in hand with the CBDRT. We also have the team from Red Cross, which are also part of our team. We have been also sensitizing community, but what we have done quite a lot, which we have seen has not been enough, because we didn't anticipate to have such heavy rains and also such natural disaster that we have been experiencing, which also it surpassed our capacity. So we tried to do what we could to rescue who we could try, and also just to document those people who have been affected and where, how, and also to notify authorities, because for us as community organizers, we have been left to do so much because the government also relies to us, because there are some of the things we can do and some we can't do. Sure. So when we get information, we just call like for the area OCS or maybe area chief and inform him, this is happening, we need your support here. So for them, they just wait for the information so that they can respond.
Something that I wanted to know or understand is, with the sort of problems we have, I'm using the Mukurus as an example, and we've been told of concerted and organized assistance that is supposed to be provided, whether it is foodstuffs, whether it is blankets, whether it is mattresses. How is this working? If indeed what I have just said is a reality.
So for us, we have the victims, and we have been discussing this, but we haven't got any support to support them. But we have their list. So far, we have about 700 people who are affected, and this was severely in Kimondo area. Not the entire settlement, but these are just the names that I'm saying. In Kwanjenga, the ones that we profiled were about 600. Then we have other areas that like Kwaruben, we haven't synthesized and compressed and have that data. So we haven't got any donation or maybe any relief, just support. But we have been in communication with some of the partners who are who are showing interest to support, but they haven't even yet communicated. But for us, we'll be very, very willing to support the victims, because we have seen the government hasn't done anything. Hasn't done anything in terms of supporting the victims of floods.
Right.
Yeah.
And right now we are having like 2 disasters, because we are having now floods, then we are having evictions.
It's a double.
So it's a double tragedy.
Toure, thank you very much for joining us. Anami Daudi Toure is the coordinator of Mukuru Community Justice Center. He's been our guest, telling us what's happening in Mukuru. With these evictions, with the ongoing flooding, some people have nowhere to live to, so they just continue living in the structures that they live in with water inside. So you just have to find a way of living. It's tough. But thank you for joining us today. Thank you for tuning in to the Situation Room this morning. Have a lovely day. We'll see you again tomorrow.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.